everyone. In this video I'm going to be showing you a bunch of different things you can do over a 12-bar progression in the key of C major. It's fashioned after 12-bar blues, except in this case the chords are all actually just C major, F major, and G major. So there's no seventh chords in it. And I'm going to teach you some different diatonic tricks to do, some different pentatonic tricks, some arpeggio things that you can work with, and then some things that combine some hybrid scales and some minor scales in with it too. In the first lesson today, I'd like to just play a little bit of what I just did for you. Two things. One is just the notes of the chords as the chords happen. So when the C chord happens, C, I'm going to be playing a C, E, and a G note. When the F chord happens, I'm going to be playing an F, A, and a C. And when the G chord happens, I'm going to be playing you a G, B, and a D note all over the neck, just different notes that make up the chord, and try to stick with those to make up my melodies and follow the progression. So here's a quick example of that. Again, I'm going to back this up just because it sounds real nice over the beginning of this. As a matter of fact, if you give me 1 second, I would like to do that. Okay, here we go. Wait a minute. I'm almost ready. Okay, so this is just the arpeggio notes of the chords. So if you don't know how to play any arpeggio shapes on the guitar, one of the simple ways you could do it is if you know how to make any chords, you can just simply pick the notes of those chords apart. So I'll just show you that example using these common as they're called cowboy chords. And then instead of doing open G, which could just be, I might use this for G instead. Let me put the track on again and just show you how to arpeggiate those chords. So part of what you want to learn as a guitarist is how to play those notes of those three chords, or for any chord for that matter, all over the neck. There's a lot of different ways to do it. One of the rules that I use when I'm trying to teach people how to play different arpeggio shapes is you can, if it's a triad, there's only 3 notes in it. So you can play 1 note on 1 string and 2 notes on the next string. That's a good way to go about learning how to do it. So for a C chord, for instance, instead of going to the 3rd string, you could play C here, E, and then play G here. So you literally have this shape now that you can move around. So here's a C chord. Here's my F chord. And here's my G chord. F, C, I'll show you that in 1 minute, but I could have done it this way too. Here's my C chord, right here's my F note, same shape, and my G chord. So I'll go through the progression one time just using this shape of an arpeggio for you. Here you go. You can learn how to do that shape across every string. So if I start on the fat string, here's my C. Next string, C. Next string, C. Next string, the shape changes a tiny bit because of the way the guitar's tuned. And the last string, C. So that applies. You can move it through F and G also like that. The next way I try to teach people how to do the arpeggio is 2 notes on one string and 1 note on the next. So now your shapes look a whole lot different. So C, for instance, would be like this. You'd have to play C here, and then most likely E would be your second choice for the next note, the third. So this is your new. So I'll use that shape for you once and move it around a little bit. I might do it in some of the higher octaves since it'll sound a little bit better. Here we go. That's C. G. F. C. Now when you start, sorry. So the last way to play arpeggios is you learn a bunch of different shapes, how to do them on the guitar. Like and then you learn all these different ways to do them. And you can play the arpeggios those ways too. Here's an example of using different shapes that move across the strings. The next part of this lesson is how to use the pentatonic scale against these 3 chords. So you're in the key of C. So first off, the first thing that you have to understand is the C major pentatonic scale has to work over the entire thing. It might not sound the best when the chords change, but it does theoretically work. So the most common way guitar players learn to play the major pentatonic scale is this. You put your pinky on the root and you play right out of what is box 1 of the minor pentatonic scale, skipping the first note. The notes are C, D, E, G, A, and then C, D, E, G, A, and C. So that one pentatonic scale over the entire progression sounds like this. The next thing that you might learn how to do is to play the major pentatonic scale for each chord as it changes or as it occurs in the song or in the progression. So you would play C major pentatonic when the C chord's happening, F major pentatonic when the F chord's happening, and G major pentatonic when the G chord's happening. You notice I did all that just using box one. I'm not trying to be too super technical or fancy here, because the idea is that you learn how to use the notes and make them sound right. So here's an example of playing the major pentatonic scale per each chord. So it's a little hard for me not to do because I am a guitar player, but once you start doing some of the guitar things, bending, sliding, shaking, it sounds pretty cool. Here's my last example for you today. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. It's the first one in the series of playing over a C, F, and G chord placed into the form of a 12-bar blues. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. I hope you come back for number 2, which I hope to do in the next couple days. So here's your last example for the day, the major pentatonic scale per chord. Hope to see you next time.